Hello, all my dear students. I hope you all are doing good. Welcome to Sri Jendra Rank Zone classes, and I'm your mentor Amit Ajmani. And in today's class, we'll be starting a fresh chapter, a new chapter that is acids, bases, and salts. Till now, you must have studied about acids, bases, and salts. And in this lecture, we'll be brushing about the same thing, that is what exactly are these acids, bases and salts. We'll be studying about a few of their properties, whether it is physical or chemical properties, right? And we'll be studying about their preparation. So let us start up with acids, bases and salts. First of all, we need to know what exactly are electrolytes. Now, what are electrolytes? Electrolytes are the chemical substances that decompose into the constituent ions in a solution or in a molten state. And because of the presence of these ions, they allow flow of current. Now, these electrolytes, they include acids, bases, as well as salts. Let us try to understand the various types of electrolytes. We have two types of electrolytes: strong electrolytes and weak electrolytes. What are these? Strong electrolytes are the electrolytes which decompose completely, or which ionize completely, almost 100%, into the constituent ions in its solution or in molten state. These are the strong electrolytes. All strong acids, all strong bases, and all salts are strong electrolytes. Example: sodium chloride, potassium chloride, hydrochloric acid, sulfuric acid, nitric acid, potassium hydroxide, barium hydroxide. These are all strong electrolytes. And if there is an electrolyte which decomposes partially into its constituent ions, those are called weak electrolytes. All the organic acids, that means the acids which are naturally occurring, which are found in plants and animals, and all the weak bases, they are weak electrolytes. For example, CH3COOH. What is this? This is acetic acid, ethanoic acid. H2CO3. This is carbonic acid. NH4OH. This is ammonium hydroxide. H2S. This is hydrogen sulfide. They are all weak electrolytes. So if an electrolyte is completely dissociating into ions, that is a strong electrolyte. And if an electrolyte is decomposing partially, then it is called a weak electrolyte. So these are the two types of electrolytes we need to know. Okay. Now, once again, before studying acids, bases and salts, we need to know what exactly are indicators. What are indicators? The indicators are actually dyes and pigments. Such dyes and pigments that change their color when they are put into an acid or a base. Right? So that is why they are given the name indicators, because they give different colors in acids and bases, thereby indicating us what type of solution we are having, whether it is an acid or a base. So these indicators actually tell us whether the substance we are testing is an acid or a base by change in its color. Now these indicators are also of a few types. What are these? Let us try to understand. One are the natural indicators and another are the synthetic indicators or man-made indicators. Let us try to relate these indicators one by one. First of all these indicators, we have mainly three most common indicators. to test the acid or bases are litmus, methyl orange, and phenolphthalein. Litmus is a natural indicator which occurs in nature, and litmus solution originally it is a purple dye which is extracted from a type of plant called lichen. And this lichen plant, it belongs to the division Thallophyta. These are one marker questions, they have been asked many a times, right? Now this litmus may be used in the form of litmus solution or in the form of litmus paper. Mainly you have studied about the most common form, that is the litmus paper, and these are of two types, blue litmus and red litmus. Now what about the color changes? We all know and we must know that an acid turns blue litmus to red, and a base or an alkali turns red litmus to blue. So this is our first example of natural indicator. Another example of natural indicator is turmeric. This turmeric, which is also called haldi in Hindi, it contains a yellow dye, and this turmeric, this yellow dye turns red in basic solutions, right? This is a common phenomena actually, that if there are certain spots on our clothes of the food that we are eating, that food contains turmeric. So when these clothes are washed with soap, now those soap solutions are basic solutions. So those spots, they will convert red. But those red spots are not visible. Why? Because when they are rinsed with extra water, then they are removed. Correct? Now, the next example of a natural indicator is red cabbage extract. This is extracted from the red cabbage leaves. This is also an example of natural indicator. Its natural original color is red, and it remains red in acidic, but it turns green when it is added to basic solutions. Clear? So these are a few examples of natural indicators. First, we have studied about litmus. Second example, we have seen about turmeric. And the third example, we related about the red cabbage extract. Now, the synthetic indicators or the man-made indicators are, examples are methyl orange and phenolphthalein. Let us try to relate both one by one along with their color changes. The neutral color of methyl orange is orange, and it is converted into red color when we put it in an acid solution. But when it is put in some basic solution, it will turn yellow. So the orange color of methyl orange indicator, it changes when it is put in an acidic solution or a basic solution. If it turns red, that means the solution in which it is put is acidic, and if it turns yellow, then it is base. Talking about the next type of indicator, that is phenolphthalein. Now the neutral color is colorless, and it remains colorless in acid solutions. But when we put this phenolphthalein in basic solution, it will turn pink. Correct? So we need to know the examples of the indicators. We need to know their neutral or natural colors, and we need to know their color changes. We need to remember the color changes when these indicators are put in acid or bases. Now, yet another type of indicators are olfactory indicators. We all know wherever this word olfactory comes, it is related to odor, this related to smell, right? So these are the indicators or the substances whose smell, whose odor change when they are put in acidic or basic solutions. Such substances are called olfactory indicators. two examples you need to remember are onion and vanilla extract. These both of them are olfactory indicators. Now, if we put these olfactory indicators in acids, there will be no change in their odor or smell. But when they are put in bases, then this onion and vanilla extract, they become odorless. You cannot detect their smell. So that is how they can be used to check whether the given solution is basic or not. Correct? So these are a few types of indicators: the natural indicators, the synthetic indicators, and the olfactory indicators. Now, after studying about these indicators, now let us come to acids. The actual chapter, acids, bases, and salts. First of all, we'll be studying in depth about acids. What are acids? These are the chemical substances which have a sour taste. Correct? There are further few other properties also which we'll be studying one by one. Now, what are the various types of acids? We need to know the various types of acids. First type of acids are organic acids. What are organic acids? These are the acids which are derived from plant materials and animals. They are called organic acids. And these organic acids are naturally occurring acids. A few examples of these organic acids are acetic acid. This acetic acid is found in vinegar. Citric acid. It is present in citrus fruits such as lemons and oranges. Lactic acid. It is present in sour milk or curd. Tartaric acid. It is present in tamarind and unripe grapes. Oxalic acid is present in tomatoes. Whereas formic acid, which is also known as methanoic acid, it is present in ant sting and nettle leaf stings. Right? So these are a few acids we need to remember their sources and their names. Okay? All these organic acids are weak acids. Correct? So these are the first type of acids, organic acids. Next type of acids are the mineral acids. Now, what are mineral acids? These are the acids which are prepared from the minerals of the earth. For example, hydrochloric acid, that is HCl, sulfuric acid, that is H2SO4, nitric acid, that is HNO3. All these acids are mineral acids, right? All the mineral acids are strong acids except carbonic acid. Carbonic acid is a mineral acid and still it is weak. This is H2CO3. This is carbonic acid. Okay. So these are the two types of acids, organic and mineral. Now, depending upon how strong these acids are, we categorize these acids as concentrated acids and dilute acids. What are these? Let us try to understand one by one. A concentrated acid is the one which contains the minimum possible amount of water in it. And these concentrated acids are all strong acids, right? And if we add water to them, then on adding more water to them, the concentration of these acids will be decreased and they will become dilute acids. What are dilute acids? When water is added to a concentrated acid, then we get dilute acids. So they contain much more amount of water in them as compared to the concentrated acids. And the more is the amount of water in them, then they will become more diluted, and the more diluted they are, they will be weaker acids. Now, one thing that we know we need to remember is whenever we are diluting an acid, there is a concentrated acid, we need to dilute it by adding water. But some precautions needed to be taken. What? That we always add concentrated acid to water gradually. We never add water to acid. Why? Because this addition of water and acid is highly exothermic. So if we will add acid to water, then the heat generated will be absorbed by water. But if we do the other way round, if we add water to the acids, then in that case, being highly exothermic, the heat generated will be absorbed by the acid and it may explode. It is very dangerous. So always while diluting an acid, always and always acids are added to water and never water to acids. Okay. Now let us try to relate a few properties of acids which are very important. First thing, in the definition itself, we have just seen that acids have a sour taste. Second property of acid is that all the acids, they turn blue litmus to red. Clear? All the acid solutions conduct electricity. That means they are good electrolytes. Why? Reason is when the acids are added to water, right, they get ionized in water and they liberate hydrogen ions. These hydrogen ions may react with water and may form hydronium ions, H3 plus O. These are called hydronium ions. So this is a characteristic property of acids, that these acids in water will always produce hydrogen ions or hydronium ions in water. Based on the ability of getting ionized in water, these acids are strong or weak depending upon how much ionized they are. If an acid is completely ionized in water, it will liberate more hydrogen ions. It is considered to be a strong acid. But if it is partially ionized in water, if it liberates less hydrogen ions, it is considered to be a weak acid. But this liberation of hydrogen ions is a characteristic property of all acids. Clear? Let us come to the next characteristic property of acids. All the acids, they react with metals to form salts, and along with this hydrogen gas is liberated. Now we all must know that whenever hydrogen gas is liberated, it liberates with effervescence, bubbling up, and it burns with a pop sound. So this is also used as a test for acids. Any metal, when reacts with acid, always salt is formed and hydrogen gas is liberated. For example, when Zn, zinc, reacts with H2SO4, that is sulfuric acid, then zinc sulfate is formed, hydrogen gas is evolved. This is actually because of the displacement of hydrogen by the metals, right? Now we know that acids will react with metals to form salts. So all those natural material like curd or other sour foodstuffs such as vinegar, lemon juice, orange juice, they all contain acids. And that is why it is advisable that they should not be kept in a metal container, metal vessel like copper vessels or brass vessels. they are not kept. Why? Because curd and other sour food stuff, they contain acids. And we have just seen that these acids react with the metals and they can form poisonous metal compounds which can cause food poisoning. So obviously it is hazardous. It is dangerous for our health. Next characteristic property of acids is that acids react with metal carbonates and metal hydrogen carbonates to form salts, and now this time carbon dioxide gas is liberated. So whenever metal carbonate or metal hydrogen carbonate, they react with acids, always salt is formed, carbon dioxide is liberated, and water is liberated. Now carbon dioxide, we must know the characteristics of carbon dioxide gas. It liberates with effervescence just like hydrogen, but number one, it is non-supporter of combustion. So if a burning matchstick is brought in front of it, it will extinguish it. Second, quite importantly, you have been studying since 6th, 7th classes that carbon dioxide turns lime water milky. So these are the characteristic properties of carbon dioxide. Let us try to relate the examples of the reaction taking place. For example, carbonate is taking sodium carbonate as an example, Na2CO3. When this reacts with HCl, hydrochloric acid, then NaCl, that is a salt, sodium chloride, along with carbon dioxide and water are formed. Similarly, if we take a hydrogen carbonate, example, sodium hydrogen carbonate, and again it is reacted with any acid, again it will form salt, liberation of carbon dioxide will be there along with the formation of water. Clear? So this is a characteristic property of all acids that they liberate salt, carbon dioxide and water when they react with carbonates or metal hydrogen carbonates. Right? The characteristic property I have already told you, carbon dioxide is liberated with brisk effervescence. It does not support combustion, so it will extinguish a burning candle or a matchstick, and it turns lime water milky. This is used as a test for carbon dioxide, right? Next thing is acids react with bases or alkalis to form salt and water. Whenever an acid reacts with a base, it will always form salt and water. This reaction of acids with bases is also termed as neutralization reaction. Why? Because acids and bases neutralize the effect of each other. We will be studying this in detail when we'll be talking about the bases. Let me come to the screen first. Alright. So, the reaction between acids and bases is also called neutralization reaction. Why? Because they neutralize the effect of each other, being opposite to each other in properties. When we'll be studying bases, we will see how they are opposite to each other. Clear? Now, the next property or the next reaction is that the acids react with metal oxides to form salt and water. Now, whether we are talking about acids reaction with base or acid reacting with metal oxide, in both the cases, salt and water are formed. Why? The reason is that these metal oxides are actually also basic in nature. So it is ultimately whether we are reacting acid with a base directly or we are reacting acid with these metal oxides which are basic in nature only, then always salt and water are formed. They both are termed as neutralization reactions. Let us take examples. Let us take a base NaOH. This is a base sodium hydroxide. HCl hydrochloric acid. When they both react, double displacement reaction will take place and we will get sodium chloride and water. Sodium chloride is a salt along with water. Next, if we take metal oxide like copper oxide, this is basic in nature, and when this reacts with any acid like hydrochloric acid, once again double displacement reaction will take place and salt and water will be formed. Salt is CuCl2, copper chloride and water. Clear? Now this process is very much important in our day-to-day life. Why? Because some antacids. What are antacids? Anti-acids, opposites of acids, called milk of magnesia. Now these are used to remove indigestion. Now what is indigestion? When there is too much of acid produced in our stomach, then that is called indigestion. In that case, in order to cure that indigestion, we use this milk of magnesia, and this milk of magnesia is nothing but metal hydroxide called magnesium hydroxide. So this magnesium hydroxide is a base. It is basic in nature. So what will happen is it will react with the excess hydrochloric acid which is present in the stomach and will neutralize it. So this is very important use of neutralization reaction. Clear? Next property is that all the acids have corrosive nature. That is why acids can burn up any piece of paper or cloth or even skin, because they have corrosive nature. So these are a few properties, characteristic properties of acids. Quite importantly, we have just seen that acids are never stored in metal containers. Because of their corrosive nature, they will gradually corrode and eat up the metal container. That is why these acids are stored usually in the containers made up of glass and ceramics, because these material, they do not get attacked by acids. Fine. Now, what do all acids have in common? Acids are those substances which ionize, which dissociate on dissolving in water to produce hydrogen ions. So, these hydrogen ions are the basic characteristic property of acids, that all acids will liberate hydrogen ions in water. Right? Now, these hydrogen ions do not exist as H plus ions in solution. They will attach themselves to the polar water molecules and they will get converted into hydronium ions. These hydrogen ions, they will react with water and form hydronium ions. So all the acids have these hydrogen or hydronium ions common in them. All those substances which will liberate hydrogen ions or hydronium ions in water are categorized as acids. Now, one very important question that comes is that there are certain compounds such as glucose and alcohols. Glucose, we know the formula C6H12O6. Alcohols, we have studied in Carben's compounds, ethyl alcohol, ethanol, C2H5OH. Now, if we relate their formula, we see that there are hydrogen atoms present. They contain hydrogen, but they do not show acidic character. Why? The reason is that, of course, they contain hydrogen atoms, but their hydrogen does not separate out in the form of ions when they are dissolved in water. And that is the main reason Why? They do not conduct electricity. They are non-electrolytes even in their solution form. And they do not show any kind of acidic behavior, acidic character, because hydrogen ions are not liberated. Similarly, if we talk about distilled water, now distilled water never conducts electricity. Why? Because this distilled water does not contain any kind of ions. Just like acids or bases or salts, when they are dissolved, it does not contain any kind of ion. But if we talk about rainwater, rainwater conducts electricity. Reason is, when this rain is falling to the earth through the atmosphere, it dissolves many gases like carbon dioxide, sulfur dioxide, nitrogen dioxide. And these dissolved gases, they form dilute acids like carbonic acids or sulfurous acid or nitrous acid. And these acids, they provide the hydrogen ions and carbonate ions to the rainwater, and due to the presence of these ions, rainwater conducts electricity. So distilled water does not conduct electricity, but rainwater conducts electricity. Got it? Similarly, if we talk about dry hydrogen chloride gas, this is just HCl. This is hydrogen chloride gas. This is not hydrochloric acid that we are talking about. No. Dry hydrogen gas, it does not show any acidic behavior. Why? Because it is dry, it does not have any hydrogen ions. So, if we pass this dry hydrogen chloride gas on dry litmus paper, there will be no change in the color. But when some water is present, if we take moist litmus paper, now what will happen is this dry HCl will react with the moisture, the humidity, the water, the wetness, and it will liberate hydrogen ions. Once it liberates hydrogen ions, now it is showing acidic behavior because of these hydrogen ions. And once it shows acidic behavior, now it will change the color. But important thing is, it should be moist blue litmus, then it will be converted to red. If it is not moist, if it is dry litmus paper, there will be no color change. So these are a few basic reasoning questions that we must know the reason why it happens. Correct? Now talking about a few uses of mineral acids in industry. These acids, of course, they are very important for us. How come? Let us try to relate. Let us try to relate a few very important uses of mineral acids in industry. Sulfuric acid, which is also known as the king of chemicals, because of its wide variety of uses, they are used in the manufacture of fertilizers like ammonium sulfate, in the manufacturing of paints, dyes, chemicals, plastics, detergents, explosives, car batteries. So many wide variety of uses for sulfuric acid. That is why it is called king of chemicals. Next, taking example of nitric acid. It is used for making fertilizers like ammonium nitrate. It is used for making explosives like TNT. What is TNT? Trinitrotoluene. Nitric acid is also used for making dyes and plastics. Talking about hydrochloric acid, very important again, used for removing oxide film from steel objects before they are galvanized, for removing the scale deposits from inside the boilers used in industries. It is also used in dye stuffs, textile industry, food and leather industries. So many wide variety of uses of mineral acids. We have just named a few of them, right? So these are the uses of mineral industries in industry, mineral acids in industry. Correct? So this is all about acids. What all we studied about acids? We studied about the types of acids, organic acids, then mineral acids, strong acids, weak acids. We saw a few examples of organic acids like lactic acid, acetic acid, formic acid, oxalic acid, tartaric acid, etc. Mineral acids are like hydrochloric acid, nitric acid, and sulfuric acid. We talked about a few properties of acids. They have a sour taste. They will convert blue litmus to red. The most important characteristic property is that of liberating hydrogen ions in water. Then these acids, they are good electrolytes because of the presence of ions in it. Quite importantly, acids react with metals to form salt and liberate hydrogen gas. Acids react with bases to form salt and water, neutralization reaction. Similarly, acids react with metal oxides, which are yet again basic in nature, once again to form salt and water, neutralization reaction. Acids, very importantly, they are highly corrosive. They react with carbonates and hydrogen carbonates to form salt. They liberate carbon dioxide and water. Then we talked about a few basic things regarding the reasoning questions. That number one, all the sour foodstuffs like curd, etc., they should never be stored in metal containers because they will react and they will form poisonous metal compounds which can cause food poisoning. Next, quite importantly, we studied about why distilled water does not conduct electricity but rainwater does. We studied about why glucose and alcohol solutions, even though they are having hydrogen in them, but still they do not conduct electricity. Still, they do not show any acidic behavior. Next, we talked about dry HCl having no effect on dry litmus paper, but dry HCl will convert the moist litmus paper into red. The blue color litmus paper will be converted into red because of the acidic behavior. Clear? We studied about how to dilute the acids. We always add acids to water, and never you need to add water to acids for diluting it because it is highly exothermic reaction. So that is why it is very harmful if we add water to acid because it may lead to explosion. Correct? Then we talked about the uses of mineral acids. We talked about the types of electrolytes, the strong electrolytes and the weak electrolytes. And this is all we studied about acids. We'll wind up this lecture here only. You need to go through all the details and especially the reactions. Importantly, the neutralization reaction in which we saw that it is used for curing indigestion, acidity in the form of antacids, which is magnesium hydroxide called milk of magnesia. And you need to practice the reactions also. The products, what exactly are the products formed? Clear? So this is all about acids. We are ending up the video class here only. After this class, we'll be starting up with the next part of this chapter. What was the name of the chapter? Acids, bases and salts. So we have just studied about acids. Next class will be detailed study we'll be doing about the various bases. What are the bases? What are their properties? What are their uses? Their chemical reactions just like acids. And then we'll be studying about the various salts which are formed because of the various chemical reactions done by these acids and bases. We'll be talking about various common salts, day-to-day salts that we use in our house, their preparations, their properties, and their uses. Fine. So till then, take care of yourself. We'll meet in the next class soon. Revise all the things. Be thorough. Learn it. Have a great time. Thank you so much.